Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and as you can see, we have something that is exceptionally exciting because we've got a Jurassic Justin figure, and it's not every day we get a Jurassic Justin figure, and as you can see, this is a Jurassic Justin prototype figure. If you've been following along with my news videos, you will have known that Jurassic Justin had released a Dimetrodon a little ways back, and it was like a pre-order for a prototype version, which is basically going to be, just a prototype of what will come for this figure in the future. There is going to be a good official release of this, but this is just basically his trial and error prototype version as he figures it out, but he wanted to release them, and the funds of this would go to, of course, pay for the production of the figure, and not just this figure, just generally moving forward with Jurassic Justin's products. And you can see we've got a pretty cool box here for it. You can see the Jurassic Justin logo, and it says prototypes down here. If you look at the side, you can now see again we've got the Dimetrodon with a nice shot there of the head, and then if we turn it to the side, again, Jurassic Justin prototypes, pretty much the same thing on the back, pretty much the same thing over here, and then if we turn the box around entirely, you can see some information on the Retro Revival line, which this is going to be a part of. You can also see again the Jurassic Justin's prototypes logo and the Retro Revival logo up there as well. So definitely hyped to take a look at this because I love Jurassic Justin and I love his products. I now have, this will be the fourth, I believe, that I get to add to my collection. So let's pop this box open and check out our brand new Dimetrodon. First of all, we've got a little paper in here, and it basically explains what we are looking at here, what's going on with this figure. You can see this is the second iteration of the Retro Revival Dimetrodon because we did have a super articulated version. This is the more standard articulation version with a different sculpt than the older one as well. But as you see, as you move down, it says, as simple as it looks, this prototype stands as a transition in how we create, understand, and manufacture collectible figures. However, because this is the first iteration of a new style of figure, the mechanics may vary in functionality or durability during use. This is an important part of the learning curve in this new line of figures, and we hope you, the buyer, understands. That being said, there is one simple thing we kindly request of you. Of course, they ask for you to review the product on Etsy where the product was sold. That's where I purchased mine, and you also can see that they would be honored to receive a full review sent to his email. But also, the only way we can improve upon our figures is through the critiques and honest reviews of our audience. Share with us your critiques, your expectations, what you would like to see in an official figure. Your opinions matter greatly to us, as it is the only way we can truly grow as a business and provide quality figures. They also state down here that they will be offering a 25% off discount from the purchase of this toward a future purchase from Jurassic Justin, which is really cool. And then down here it also states that we will be gifted a Dimetrodon, an official Retro Revival Dimetrodon, for free once it is officially finished. So on top of getting the really cool prototype version, we'll also get for free the actual release when it is ready, which is super, super awesome. Very kind on the part of Jurassic Justin, as always, to go above and beyond to make his customers happy. And then here is our brand new version of the Dimetrodon. Let me reposition the camera a little bit to get a bit of a better angle. And that is one gorgeous Dimetrodon, very clearly looking like an awesome version of the Kenner Dimetrodon, which the other one was almost like the Kenner Dimetrodon on steroids, like it was pumped up and very impressive looking. I think the sculpt of this one overall definitely has a bit more similarity to the original Kenner version, just a lot nicer detail, a lot better paint apps, and just generally looks a lot more high quality and a lot more crisp. The paintwork obviously is also very Kenner Dimetrodon-ish, which looks really good, and I honestly feel like Jurassic Justin is underrated when it comes to his figures, and not only his figures, but everybody raves about how great the sculpts and stuff are, which they are, but I feel like his paintwork specifically is very underrated. Like, his paint jobs are awesome, and you can definitely see that again for this Dimetrodon here, and It looks really, really nice here from every angle that we look at it. So I'm very excited to have another version of a Dimetrodon here from Jurassic Justin. Super hyped to get a closer look at this, so let's jump to that closer look right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Dimetrodon, you can see straight away it looks really nice. And again, very similar to the old Kenner version, just a bit updated compared to that one. You can also see we've got some gorgeous greens here that really shine on the face. You've also got some stripes there, some darker stripes leading down over the top of the snout there into the palate area. We've got the nostrils here on the tip of the snout. You can also see some very reptilian style scaling up here on the top of the Dimetrodon. You've got some nice detailing there in the eye socket. The eye is painted very nicely with a black, and then we lose focus on it. You can also see we've got an articulated jaw, which works pretty nicely. We've got some nicely sculpted teeth on the inside of the mouth, nicely painted with an off-white. You can see the gums and everything painted there as well, and they also have a very nice gloss coat in there, very shiny, saliva-like look that we've got going on. And all of the teeth are painted perfectly, just very precise and carefully. We can see the tongue there, sculpted on the inside of the mouth, also sports a nice gloss coat to it. And then you've got some gorgeous detailing there on the inside of the mouth on the upper side. And again, that nice pinkish tone with the gloss coat added to it. You can take a look at the opposing side of the head. Again, you can see everything looks just as nice as it did on the initial side. You can see a darkening there around the eye socket. We've got a nice lighter tone here for the underside of the Dimetrodon. You've got some really cool sculpt and detail there, kind of like some ridges almost hanging off of the throat region of the Dimetrodon. Again, really nice skin wrinkles and very impressive scale detail down there as well. You've also got some slight ridges picking up here on the back of the neck of the Dimetrodon as we lead up into the sail. You've got a darker variation of a green here leading back from the head into the neck region. We do have another spot of articulation right there in that area, which can move around pretty nicely, honestly. It doesn't move up and down too much. You can see it goes a little bit, but mostly left and right. And again, this is the standard version as far as the articulation goes compared to the previously released super articulated version. But as you lead back here, you've got, again, some nice kind of osteoderms and stuff picking up there, leading out into the back. You kind of have like a line of them that run along the upper part of the back. And look at how nice that scale detail looks. Again, extremely reptilian, very lizard-like or snake-like as far as the scale detail goes. You can see just some nice slight wrinkling there in the skin. You can see the shoulder blade poking up there with some kind of smaller, bumpier scales, as well as the rib cage there moving along the stomach region of the Dimetrodon. Very impressive fine detail. Very nice paint apps, again, as you have that darker green running along the upper side, very smoothly transitioning to this lighter, very bright green down here on the side. And then as you lead up here into the sail of the Dimetrodon, you can see we have a nice different variation of a green as well as yellow that kind of just spots and stripes and designs all throughout the entire area of the sail. Again, very Kenner-like as far as that detailing and paintwork goes. Very, very Kenner-like. And you can also see a darker tone kind of run along the edges of the sail. And the fine detail of the sail looks really nice as well. You can see when you get nice and close, that area is also quite impressive. As you move down here, you've got a really nicely sculpted leg. You've got quite a few joints of articulation, and you'll see the same thing as we move over here. Again, the front leg definitely sports some nice articulation. You've got the ability to move the shoulder area as well as the elbow. But I will say this does feel a little loose, so it does pop right off. So the articulation, although it works, does seem to pop out of the joints a little bit. And then you've also got the wrist articulation, which I'm trying to be very careful with this because I know, like he had stated, this is a prototype. It's not like a finished version of the Dimetrodon. This is kind of like a work in progress, so everything isn't, as perfect as it will be on the final release. You can also see the foot is sculpted really nicely. You've got some nicely sculpted toes as well as a very nice glossy black for the nails, which looks really good. And you can see variation of color. We have like that green, but it looks like we might also have a slightly different variation of green in there as well. And then as we move back here into the stomach region, again, lots of really impressive skin wrinkles here moving along the lower part of the stomach. You have this very cool striping effect here that moves through the lower part of the stomach. And then we lead back here into the rear legs. And of course, you've got that same amount of articulation as you've got the hip, which can actually move out away from the body as well. Yeah, you can get that to move out pretty nicely. You've got the knee here.
which is a little stiff for me right now. There we go. We've got the knee articulating, and then you've also got, again, the ankle, and these areas seem to have the ability to swivel as well. And you've got the very nicely sculpted toes, again, very nicely painted nails. And then you lead up here into the tail, and you have kind of like a rough, rugged look to the skin texture. Again, very reminiscent to the Kenner Dimetrodon. As you move out here, you've got the darker variations of green running along these ridges on the back of the tail, lighter variation here on the side, and then an even lighter tone here on the underside, and you also have the striping effect as you move out through the length of the tail. You've got quite a few joints of articulation as you move out the length of the tail. You've got one there, one here, here. And then, of course, you lead out to the tip of the tail, and I think that maybe we'll have ability to move the tail. So yeah, oh, there we go. We dropped it. So as you can see, some of the pieces, again, do pop out of the joints because, like I said, this is, again, a prototype. If I can get that back in there. There we go. But you can see you can move the tail up and down as well. As long as you're slow and careful with it, it seems like you can move it pretty nicely. But if you're, kind of quick and moving it in a little bit of a rough fashion, they might pop out of the joints a little bit. But as we turn it around here, take a look at the underside. You can see the underside also sports some really nice detail. Very bright tone here for the underside of the Dimetrodon as well. And then, of course, you're going to see pretty much all the same thing over here on the opposing side. Not a whole lot of difference going on from one side to the other on this version of the Dimetrodon. So even though this is a prototype version, you come into purchasing this knowing that it is still an absolutely gorgeous Dimetrodon with some pretty fun articulation on top of everything. But just in general, I love the sculpt of this. I love the paint of this. Definitely a really cool throwback to the old Kenner version, just with a much more updated and lifelike look.
Man, once you see it sitting here just kind of displayed, what a gorgeous figure. I am just overly in love with this Dimetrodon. And as far as the size goes for it, to give you a pretty good idea of the size, you're looking at a little over 8.5 inches, approaching 8 3/4, but not quite there, or around 22 centimeters in length. And then for a height, I'd say about 4.5 inches, or right around 11.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Jurassic Justin prototype version of the Retro Revival Dimetrodon. And you can see, again, even though it's kind of a smaller figure, I mean, it's not really small. I'd say it's like small approaching medium. It still does sport a pretty good size, pretty impressive size range. I would think it's pretty similar in size to the older Kenner Dimetrodon. And to take a look at that, there is the old Kenner version of the Dimetrodon. This one's a little bit dirty, but I have a whole bunch of these. I just, for some reason, couldn't find this exact paint variant in my pile of Mattel and Kenner stuff back here. It kind of has become a little bit messy over the last few months, so it's something I need to address on a rainy day, kind of clean it up a little bit and kind of reorganize things, because I've had so many new figures that I just kind of set them in there and I don't have enough time to rearrange everything. So I was finding like every other paint variant of this Dimetrodon except for the one that I wanted, which is this one. So I now did find this one. It's just the dirtier one. But you can see, again, they are very similar in size, but obviously way cooler looking on the newer version. Definitely, again, a much more realistic looking take on the Dimetrodon. We've also got the Mattel version of the Dimetrodon here next to the Jurassic Justin version to help give you another idea of the size. And then a figure that I bring in quite often for review comparison suspects, we've got the Collect Day Deluxe Dimetrodon, which you can see is pretty similar in size as well to the Jurassic Justin version. Then another absolutely classic Dimetrodon, we have the Chap May version here next to the Jurassic Justin version, and you can see the Chap May version is quite a bit larger. And then for one final comparison, we have yet another classic Dimetrodon, as we have the Safari LTD version next to the brand new prototype version from Jurassic Justin. So this brand new Jurassic Justin Retro Revival prototype version of the Dimetrodon is super cool, honestly. It is definitely a gorgeous figure. The sculpt is fantastic. It is as highly detailed as you're going to find on a Dimetrodon, and it also sports some of the nicest fine detail I think I've ever seen on a Dimetrodon. I'm just a huge fan of that very reptilian style scale detail on this species, and I think it works so well and looks so nice on this version. You can tell Jurassic Justin put a lot of work into sculpting this out to make it look as beautiful as he possibly can, and it really did pay off in the long run. The sculpt is fantastic. The paint job as well is incredibly well done. Again, really capturing the old school feel, the old school vibe of the Kenner Dimetrodon. Definitely has that look very clearly, and at the same time, a bit more of a realistic take on that paint scheme. I think he's done a better job on this, of course, than what we had seen on the old Kenner version, even though the old Kenner version is definitely one of the most nostalgic Dimetrodon figures of all time. The paint job may not be the best thing in the world, and I feel like the paint job here from Jurassic Justin's is definitely a bit more naturalistic overall. On top of that, we are loaded with articulation. Even if this is the standard articulated version, there is still quite a bit of articulation on this figure. However, of course, there are a little bit of issues with the articulation currently, and I would imagine that's the entire reason for this prototype run of the figure, is to basically kind of troubleshoot and figure out what could be improved, what could be worked on. And I think the articulation and his new way of doing it is definitely really good. It definitely has a lot of potential. The only thing that is a little bit troublesome for the figure currently seems to be the fact that when you do try to articulate some of the joints, they tend to pop out a bit. They pop out of place. The joints, although they work, they definitely serve the purpose. They work pretty well. As long as you articulate it slowly, it seems to work pretty nice, but if you try to articulate it quickly, there are definitely some problems with the pieces popping off. But again, if you can somehow tighten those joints up and tighten up the connectors to where you attach the articulation, I think this will absolutely be as stellar of an articulated Dimetrodon as it gets. And of course, that's the entire reason for this figure, is to kind of raise money for the future of the Retro Revival line, and for him to kind of, get everybody's opinions on the new style of articulation and everything. So I think the new version of the articulation absolutely holds a whole lot of potential. Just a few minor things that he's going to have to work out, I think, before releasing the official version of this Dimetrodon. But as a whole, this thing is absolutely beautiful. And if you are like me and you're a fan of collecting things that are kind of rare, different, unique, absolutely pick this figure up. And in fact, Jurassic Justin had just recently announced that he was going to offer this Dimetrodon up at a little bit of a discounted rate. I think it's like $100 plus shipping right now to grab this Dimetrodon from his Etsy shop. And of course, all the funds will then go to funding the Retro Revival line moving forward, and will allow us to get even more figures, from Jurassic Justin into our collection. And one of which I know is another Scorpius Rex that he's going to be working on. And, of course, if you are interested in picking this up, which, like I said, definitely recommend doing so, I will include a link in the description to the Etsy shop of Jurassic Justin, where you can head on over there and grab this right now while you still can. This is a very limited run, very limited run of this figure. So if you are interested in grabbing one of these, owning one of these super unique prototype versions of the Dimetrodon, I absolutely recommend grabbing it as soon as possible so you do not miss out. So make sure you check that link in the description. Go grab this awesome Dimetrodon, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.